Hello and welcome to Mindset Mondays with DTK. This is episode 72. This is an ongoing series for folk with a growth mindset or those who'd like to develop one. It's a chance to play with new ideas, new concepts, and to try on new mindsets. So you might notice not in my normal studio. This is during the summer. Elaine and I try to get to transfer to work from Colorado as much as possible. So we are in Colorado, and hopefully the next couple of broadcasts we'll be able to do it from outside. But for now, we're here, we're settled, and let's roll. If you'll take a moment, click share underneath this video and add your friends and community to the conversation. Would love to have more voices part of this. The more in the conversation, the more powerful the conversation. All right, the quote that we get to play with today. Here's the concept. Doesn't matter how slowly you go, so long as you do not stop. And I, particularly being at altitude right now and noting the difference in my capacity, this is much more fitting than I thought when I first picked it for today. So I passed 50 several years ago, and I know that Bruce and a couple other folks I know that ride with me, have ridden with me, are on this broadcast today as well. So what I noticed, I've been riding a bike since 2005, and I noticed that I used to have this irrational need, this desire to be one of the first ones at the top of the hill. It was always a psychological, internal competition. And it was as if I was trying to prove something. Look, it was 3 years before I learned how to use the pedals, before anybody taught me that it wasn't just trying to pound up to the highest gear and hit it as hard as you could. I was burning a lot of energy unnecessarily. Go back to Alan Greenspan talking about the dot-com era. When I was on a bike, I had, let's just say, an irrational exuberance. But something shifted after I passed 50. It was, emotionally and energetically, not to mention physically. Um, I'm leaning more into that quote that I shared from Confucius. Again, it doesn't matter how fast you go, or it doesn't matter how slowly you go, so long as you do not stop. My priorities have shifted. They're shifted more inward. And I realized that I had nothing to prove and no one to prove it to except for myself. Became about consistency, more the incremental improvement, more personal best, and a lot about enjoyment. Yeah, several of the groups that I ride with, they're still the playground of the county line sprint, occasionally sprinting for a competitive mark. That's just fun. And in some of the organized rides, there's still the king of the mountain stretches. But the folks that are vying for that tend to be about 20 years younger than I am. Um, but the win for me was really that shift to making it more internal. And I realized that's kind of a parallel. Um, how often our businesses are we measuring against external markers? It starts with that danger of comparison. And I know we played with the idea from Teddy Roosevelt that the idea of comparison is the thief of joy. And compare our beginning to someone else's middle, that's bad enough. It's worse when we decide that that person's current state is the one, not just that we compare ourselves to, but we decide that's the mark. That's what we need to be doing. Too often we follow a mentor, a public model, a coach, a trainer, a consultant, a visible thought, a highly visible thought leader. And we say, oh my God, we have to do it exactly like them. One of my coaches, Rich Litvin, says he doesn't want people that work with him to be the next Rich Litvin. He wants them to be the next whoever they are. So it's be the first. So it's not that I'm trying to be the next Rich Litvin. It's about being the first David Taylor Klaus. And I think that's important because often in our businesses, we compare ourselves to somebody else's ideal or somebody else's marker, and then try to make that our goal. And even when we succeed at becoming like that, It's soul crushing because it's not authentic. It's not us. It's a shortcut to get to a marker for success. It's not our success, right? It's benchmarking based on external markers rather than our own, rather than refocusing our attention and intention and priorities are on our own internal drivers. That's the only yardstick that I want to use is mine. Oh, and I do get caught up in the, oh my God, that's fantastic. I wish that I could do that or be like that. And yet I'm getting better at always recalibrating back to wanting to become the best version of who I am and wanting my business to be as best as I can make it in alignment with my values. Paul Jarvis, I was about to say a recovering web developer. He's a current developer. He's got a web development company and he loves what he does. And he's been hearing for years, oh, you should become an agency, hire more people, expand your services, make it bigger, better, faster, more. Um, and he's not only has he resisted it, he wrote a book about the experience and about the concept called Company of One. And I'll post it into the chat thread and into the discussion group um, for this. But it's Paul Jarvis, Company of One. Why staying small is the next big thing for business. Deciding what you want your company to look like and the type of work that you want to do and doing that and only that. It is so much easier to stay in your zone of genius when you stay in the work that drives you and moves you. He said, why? Paul says, I suck at managing people. So why would I want to expand and become an agency when I love the one-to-one connection with the client? I love the actual work of design and development. And if I grew the company beyond just me, it'd be a very short period of time before I wasn't able to do any of the design or the development, and I'd be stuck managing people, at which I know I suck. So he's talking about taking a conscious step into the form of the business that best serves him. Is why, if I can feed myself and my family and plan for the future and enjoy my life, why would I want to expand? I think about being out in Colorado. I think a lot about my father-in-law, who is 91 and comes out here during the winter and still skis and still skis black diamonds. And it's not that he's fast, although he is. It's not that he is going to be winning competitions for his perfection on the slopes. He enjoys it and he comes out and he skis. Or Mr. Rodriguez, the guy who lives several doors down from me, who on our little short dead end street, not 10 houses long, he will run up and down the street. And I walk faster than he runs, but the point is, it doesn't matter how slowly he's going, so long as he doesn't stop. He's pushing 90. My father-in-law is 91 and still skiing. That idea of, at a personal level, continuing to move and not making it about some external marker of speed or size, but making it about the internal marker of what works for you, what moves you, what's your capacity, your capability. And Lynn is on with us this morning as well. And Lynn and I are part of and so is Mario. We're all part of WBEX, the World Business and Executive Coach Summit. And what I love about that series, we have almost 50 speakers that we experience over the course of 9 months, starting in again this September. And what I love about it is thought leaders sharing their learning, their knowledge, their experience, their techniques, their body of work, and doing it in a way that's not, you should do it like this. Here's the work. Here's what's available. What resonates with you? What moves you? How can you take this information and use it to elevate your coaching, your practice, or your world? Well, how remarkable. What if we did that with all of the things we took in and all of the things we witnessed and all of the models we saw out there and said, wow, What if this works in my world? How can I take that learning, that information, that model, that vision, and make it work in my world? Not adapt myself to that model, but what can I choose from that to integrate in my world? I think that's one of the biggest learnings for me is how do I become a bigger, better, faster version of myself in alignment with my values? What from the outside can help me grow within my own frame, my own structure? There's a lot of breathing room and a lot of grace in the idea of constantly getting better at being who I am at my core. That's the deepest work. That's the richest work is how do I get better at being who I am? How do I get better at building myself and building things around me to better serve my dreams, my vision, my goals, to reach my markers? What I want for you, for those that are here live and those who watch in the coming weeks, is look inward. Where are you making effort from the outside in instead of, as Mario shared, from the inside out, looking at your markers and shaping your external world based on what moves you from the inside? That's the opportunity. Judith Glazer, who we would have just celebrated her birthday, she passed earlier this year. Um, Brilliant teacher. She uses the phrase over and over again, words create worlds. I love that concept because things are created in the world. Things are created twice, once in here and once in the world, and always in that order. So what words are you choosing in the narrative with yourself, in the conversations with yourself that create the picture of what it is that you want to create? Be aware of the language you use and be intentional about how you talk about what you want to create. Let the markers, let the benchmark be from the inside out. Visualize it, describe it, and then begin to create it in the world outside. And check back in along the way. Always check back in. Are the drivers from internal drivers? Are they the internal markers? Look at what you're choosing to create in the world and check in with your head, your heart, and your gut. Are these my markers? Is this from the inside out? I love this way of saying it. Mario, thank you for sharing that. I'm trying to post it up to the screen. There we go. The words you speak reflect the house you live in and the world you create outside it. I love that, Mario. Thank you. Um, so this week, be attentive to the yardstick that you're using and the words that you're using, because that's how you create your world. So the check-in for you this week is, whose yardstick am I using? Keep playing with that this week and notice what's driving you. And between now and next week, what mindset will you choose?